collar of my trench coat against the driving rain. Whoever was down there was talking to himself in a low voice. It was impossible to catch what he was saying. I moved to one side of the pile of fresh earth, dodging another spadeful, and peered in. "Nasty morning for it." He looked up, resting on his spade, an old man in a cloth cap and shabby, mud-stained suit, a grain sack draped across his shoulders. His cheeks were sunken and hollow, covered with a grey stubble, and his eyes full of moisture and quite vacant. I tried again. "The rain," I said. Some kind of understanding dawned. He glanced up at the sombre sky and scratched his chin. "Worse before it gets better, I'd say." "It must make it difficult for you," I said. There was at least 6 inches of water swilling about in the bottom. He poked at the far side of the grave with his spade, and it split wide open, like something rotten bursting, earth showering down. "Could be worse. They put so many in this little boneyard over the years, people aren't planted in earth anymore. They're buried in human remains." He laughed, exposing toothless gums, then bent down, scrabbled in the earth at his feet, and held up a finger bone. "See what I mean?" The appeal, even for the professional writer, of life in all its infinite variety, definitely has its limits on occasion, and I decided it was time to move on. "I have got it right. This is a Catholic church." "All Romans here," he said. "Always have been." "Then maybe you can help me. I'm looking for a grave or perhaps even a monument inside the church. Gascoigne. Charles Gascoigne, a sea captain." "Never heard of him," he said. "And I've been sexton here 41 years. When was he buried?" "Around 1685. His expression didn't alter. He said calmly, "Ah, well then, before my time, you see. Father Vereker. Now he might know something." "Will he be inside?" "There or the presbytery. Other side of the trees behind the wall." At that moment, for some reason or other, the rookery and the beech trees above our heads erupted into life, dozens of rooks wheeling in the rain, filling the air with their clamour. The old man glanced up and hurled the finger bone into the branches, and then he said a very strange thing. "Noisy bastards," he called. "Get back to Leningrad." I'd been about to turn away, but paused, intrigued. "Leningrad?" I said. "What makes you say that?" "That's where they come from. Starlings, too. They've been ringed in Leningrad, and they turn up here in October. Too cold for them over there in the winter." "Is that so?" I said. He had become quite animated now, took half a cigarette from behind his ear and stuck it in his mouth. "Cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey over there in the winter. A lot of Germans died at Leningrad during the war. Not shot or anything, just froze to death." By now I was quite fascinated. I said, "Who told you all that?" "About the birds?" he said, and suddenly he changed completely, his face suffused by a kind of sly cunning. "Why, Werner told me. He knew all about birds." "And who was Werner?" "Werner?" He blinked several times, the vacant look appearing on his face again, though whether genuine or simulated it was impossible to tell. "He was a good lad, Werner. A good lad. They shouldn't have done that to him." He leaned over his spade and started to dig again, dismissing me completely. I stayed there for a moment longer, but it was obvious that he had nothing more to say, so, reluctantly, because it had certainly sounded as if it might be a good story, I turned and worked my way through the tombstones to the main entrance. I paused inside the porch. There was a notice board on the wall in some sort of dark wood, the lettering in faded gold paint. "Church of St. Mary and All the Saints, Studley Constable," across the top, and, underneath, the times for Mass and Confession. At the bottom it said, "Father Philip Vereker, S.J." The door was oak and very old, held